What's up, everybody? It's been a while since I posted a video, so I'm here today with a new one. Today's going to be my recap of my 2017 fishing season. It's been a while since I've actually been out fishing, but bass season closed yesterday, so that generally kind of ends my season right there. We'll go back. We'll start in January. So January, as usual, I kind of started off with panfish. Did a couple back lake trips for some crappie. Did one with Sebastian, one with my buddy Callum from Happy Go Fishing. Did a little bit of perch fishing in Cooks Bay. Went out with my buddy Matt Monkman there. Got into some real good perch down there. But I think I only really went out one or two times for the perch. We ended up getting what I would consider safe ice pretty early on. I think it was the 8th of January that we had a good solid kind of 3.5 to 4 inches of ice. So we ended up getting out for some lake trout and whitefish for a couple weeks. We never really gained much ice though. Like it kind of stayed in that 3.5 to 4.5 inch range for a while, and then it got warm again, and we lost ice. So then we had a kind of a couple weeks hiatus where we weren't really fishing. Never got a ton of ice this year. It was kind of strange. But towards the end of January, Sebastian and I did get out, and that's when he broke his record burbot. So that was probably the highlight of my season, and it was right at the beginning. But it was a super, super cool experience. I know it's just a burbot, but it was really, really cool to be there, kind of go through the entire process of learning how to certify this record fish. I think we both have been around long enough that we had the right contacts to kind of get everything rolling in a quick and efficient manner. I immediately called two people. So I called my buddy Greg Emile, who holds 9 or 10 world line class records. He's done a whole bunch of this stuff. He's been through the process a lot. So he gave us our kind of initial guideline. Then we called Will Wegman from the Ministry of Natural Resources. He kind of gave us basically a confirmation of what we'd already heard and knew, but a few other things along the way, like I said, to get that process going. From there, we went on to do a little bit more lake trout and whitefish. I rented a few huts from Donnie at Bear Point Fish Hut Rentals. Kind of during that sketchy process where we'd lost some ice. There was enough ice out there, but it was really slushy, not so great for walking. It was just simpler for me, days where I only had a few hours. It's like just get a hut, like $50 or whatever it was. I can't remember. Your minnows are included. You get your ride out, like it's convenient. I brought my dad out, who was sick at the time, so it was a lot easier just to get him up and down the hill, and had a good time out there. We saw the juvenile bald eagle. I put a video out of that. That was a cool experience out there. Got into some lake trout and whitefish, which is always fun. We finally were able to get to kind of our good water for the last couple days of the season. It was just really sketchy all season. Like I said, we never had enough water or enough ice to get out there, and we finally did towards the end, and we had some fantastic days. I think the final day of the year, I don't remember a number, well into the double digits, lake trout and whitefish, some big ones mixed in, which is always a blast. From there, the end of ice season, I usually kind of take a bit of a break. I usually go pretty hard in the winter, so it's nice to have that kind of downtime just to relax a little bit. So I think the next time I went fishing was trout opener, and I went down with a buddy of mine, Mike Buttigieg. He's got a tradition, same spot every year for 20 years, and went down with him. And it was a slow day for me anyway. They got into some fish. I'm not huge on steelheading. I do it once or twice a year kind of thing, and got into some fish. That was fun. Day after that, picked up my boat and went out for some jumbo perch, which I always love doing in the spring. Got onto them within the first 15 minutes of fishing, which, I mean, I've got it pretty dialed to where they should be that time of year, but it usually takes a bunch of searching. I might search for 2 or 3 hours before I find a big pot of fish, and this time there was no searching. They were right where I thought they would be, right where they should be, and got into some real good ones. I never got any of those giant kind of 15 inchers. A lot of 13, 13 and a half with the odd 14 mixed in, which are great fish, don't get me wrong, but no real giants this year. Did that a couple more times, and then it's lake trout and pike season at that point. So For the lake trout, when it opened on Simcoe, I ended up taking my son out, Henry. He hadn't quite turned 3 yet, and it was the first time taking him out on my boat. So we went out more just for a boat ride, but jigged up some lake trout. He got to reel one in a little bit, and he was super super excited. We only got the one fish that day. We were only out for a couple hours, but regardless, he was super pumped, and he caught the bug, man. He's always asking to come out fishing now, which is fun for me. So next up, right before my northern pike season opened, I did a bunch of fishing for bowfin, which is something I'd never done before. I've caught them previously, but I've never actually targeted them. So one thing I enjoyed about it is it's very similar to shallow water bass fishing, which is one of my favorite things to do. So kind of getting up in the shallows and flipping a jig around on a big heavy flipping stick and a heavy braid, just drill the hook into them. That's my favorite style of bass fishing. So to be able to do that prior to bass season with the bowfin was an absolute blast for me. It's something I'm going to look forward to doing again next year. It felt a little sketchy sometimes, to be honest with you, because we're up in such shallow water in the spring, flipping a jig around. But in the reality, in the 3 or 4 times I went out, I might have only seen 5 bass. And I'm not pitching it blindly, hoping for a bite. I'm literally sneaking up on fish, looking for fish to cast to. It's not random casting. But that was a ton of fun. Um, so from there, we did pike season. Spent a couple weeks up north fishing 4 or 5 different lakes. I've got kind of the same 3 and 4 that I rotate through, and every year I kind of try to throw a new one in. So learn as much as I can. I mean, it gets stale when you do the same thing over and over again, right? So throw 1 or 2 new lakes in a year. So this year I did 1 new one. Got into some good fish again. It took about a week or so before I got any real big ones. We had some good like mid to high 30-inch fish the first week, but it was about a week into the season where the big ones started showing up. I ended up catching Mr. Smiley again, which is the 3rd time since 2014 that I've caught the same fish, and it's been my personal best every time. So this year, it was just a little bit under 48 inches. It's a gigantic fish. It was definitely more beat up this year than it has been in the past, skinnier. Hopefully I get to tangle with her again next year. So once pike season finished, I usually do that kind of till mid-June, take about a week off, and then get into bass fishing. So when I got into bass fishing, I hardly did any largemouth fishing this year at all. Did a little bit, but I really, really focused on smallmouth this year. Did a bunch of trips. I kind of stayed local for the most part, like Simcoe, Couchiching, and Georgian Bay a couple times. But it's, I don't have a lot of areas that I go. If I'm fishing for smallmouth, I'd rather fish for 5 or 6 pound smallmouth than 2 and 3 pounders. It's just kind of my style. I prefer big fish. So July was kind of a write-off for me fishing. I didn't do a lot of fishing in July. That's when my dad's cancer kind of took a big turn, and I kind of took July off to spend a bunch of time with him. He ended up passing away, the end of July, which is super unfortunate, obviously. But I carry a lot of good fishing memories with my dad. My dad was always super, super passionate about what I was passionate about, which was fishing. I've got, like I said, I got a lot of great memories. We fished our first tournament together in 1999 when I was 12 years old, and we fished tournaments up till a couple of years ago, and he still got out, multiple times a year with me, mostly enjoying Simcoe smallmouth and our northern pike fishing. So super happy to have those memories. Once he passed away, I ended up spending a bunch more time on the water in August, and of course, fall bass season is always what I live for, basically. Once the fall rolled around, mid-September, I picked up my new boat. Super excited to have it. I love the old Legend. It did me well. It owes me nothing. But I'm super, super excited to add the Bass Cat to the family. Got out a bunch for the smallmouth. We had an unseasonably warm fall, so it was kind of comfortable fishing. But it also meant the fish didn't quite set up on their fall spots as early as I would like. They're scattered more. They're still suspended feeding. A little tougher to locate. Still got into some real big bags of fish. Bass Pro Open came around. It's the first time I've done that in 10 years. Did it with Sebastian this year. Put in a good solid week of pre-fish, knowing that these fish are moving so much. There was such a transition stage at that point. We had to stay on top of them. So we ended up weighing the biggest bag I've ever weighed in the tournament, which was 30.13 pounds. Um, Breaking the 30 mark and still coming third place is a little bit bittersweet, I'll say that. Super excited to break that record. But it just highlights what a fantastic fishery Simcoe is when the 30-pound bag only nets you third place. I got out a couple more times and when it got cold, and then I really haven't fished for the last couple weeks now. Just bought a new hut, getting ready for next year. I bought the Freybill Citadel. It's a big 2-man thermal. It's more of a 3-man, but it's pretty much going to be a 1-man. I just like having that space. So I'm excited for that. I'm excited to get the 2018 season underway with. So for those that watch this video, guys, I appreciate you sticking around. I appreciate you watching. Don't forget to click like, subscribe, do all that stuff. I appreciate it so much. Upcoming in the next couple weeks, I have the Canadian Ice Fishing Expo at the Barry Molson Center. I'll be speaking about lake trout and whitefish movement patterns. Come take a look. I'll be there. Come say hi. And again, thanks for watching.